Hi everyone, it's Rachel, and in this video I'm going to be showing you what we received in the March Sophie and Toffee Elves box, as well as show you how to create a bee and honeycomb inspired charm bracelet using clay and resin. So the items we received in the March box were shimmering gold UV resin, regular UV resin, a tub of gold leaf flakes, a honeycomb jewellery mould, hexagon ear studs and hoops, mica pigment powders, and then the premium items were a honeycomb coaster mould and this thermocolor changing powdered pigment. So moving on to the bracelet tutorial, I firstly took this silicone mould that came in the box and also the gold shimmering resin. I began pouring this into one of the honeycomb sections, but then I realised that the gold in the resin wasn't mixed through very evenly, so I ended up adding in some extra pigment and then mixing this into the resin. I put this into the part of the mould that I wanted to use and then I cured it under my UV lamp. I then did the exact same thing for some of the other honeycomb designs in the mould. Next, I decided that I wanted to make some with the gold leaf, so I took the tub of gold leaf and I firstly spread it around in the mould with my toothpick, and then I added my resin straight from the tube this time, and the gold shimmer decided to come out. For the little drops of honey, I am using the thermo color changing pigment and mixing some into the UV resin before adding it into the mold. This pigment starts out orange, but once it heats up, it turns into a yellow color and then back again once it's cooled down. I also created some flowers with the UV resin, so I brushed in some powdered pigments that I had into the mold, and then I just poured in some white UV resin gel, and then I continued this with a bunch of different colors. To create the center of the flowers, I took some micro marbles and I mixed these into some UV gel, which I then added to the center of my flower charms. Here I'm just using some wet and dry sandpaper to sand down the honeycomb pieces and make them all nice and smooth. Now moving on to the polymer clay, I'm firstly creating the leaves. To do this, I took a ball of green clay and I flattened it down and then pinched one side to create the teardrop kind of shape or like the leaf shape. I then used my needle tool to create an indent straight down the center, and then I also added an eye pin in the top. I went ahead and made a bunch of these and then I baked them in the oven. Now moving on to the bee charms, I'm firstly taking this color for the body, which is a mixture of Fimo citrine quartz and a little bit of orange clay. I rolled the clay onto my work surface for the body shape, and then I began making the stripes by rolling a long coil of black polymer clay and then flattening this down with my rolling pin. I then wrapped 2 strips of this clay around the body. Now moving on to the kawaii face, I created 2 indents where I wanted the eyes to go, and then I added in 2 balls of black clay. For the mouth, I positioned on a small U shape of black clay, and then for the cheeks on either side, I dusted on some pink chalk pastels. Next, I shaped 2 teardrops out of some opal clay mixed with blue polymer clay, and I cut off the pointed parts to create the wings, which I then attached onto the body. For a very simple sting on the back of the bee charm, I added a tiny piece of black clay, and then I also added an eye pin into the top of the bee to make it into a charm. Once you've made your bees, you can then go ahead and bake them in your oven according to your package's instructions. So after baking, I secured the eye pins with some super glue, and then it was time to start putting the charm bracelet all together. I ended up using silver findings and chains because I didn't have any gold, which I do feel would match the honeycomb kind of bee look a little bit better, but but I didn't have any, so silver's what I ended up with. I used my pairs of pliers to open up the jump rings and attach on each of the pieces. So here is what my finished bee and honeycomb inspired charm bracelet ended up looking like. I really love all the pastel colours together and how colourful it turned out. I feel like this charm bracelet would be perfect for the springtime or like around Easter, even though Easter here in Australia is in autumn and not spring. But anyway, here you can also see how the honey drops change colour from orange to a yellow when they have heat applied to them. So that's everything for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel for lots more crafty videos. And I'll see you next time. Bye guys.